What we heard the Health Secretary say this morning was that he wants to cut waiting lists, but we all know that there's only one waiting list that he really wants to cut. But the Prime Minister is not going to do anything about the toxic culture. This is his responsibility. Just last night, his allies accused not just the Health Secretary, but the Home Secretary and even the Energy Secretary of launching leadership bids. These attacks came from Number 10, nowhere else, his toxic Number 10. The person responsible for the culture in Number 10 is his Chief of Staff, Morgan McSweeney. Does the Prime Minister have full confidence in him?
Morgan McSweeney, my team and I are absolutely focused on delivering for the country. And let me be clear, of course, Mr Speaker, I've never authorised attacks on Cabinet members. I appointed them to their posts because they're the best people to carry out their jobs. Mr Speaker, she asks about waiting lists. Waiting lists are down under this government. The number of GPs is up. And because we've scrapped NHS England, we're investing on the front line. That's what the Health Secretary is doing today, getting on with his job, and he's doing a very good job too.
Mr Speaker, I didn't hear him give full confidence to Morgan McSweeney, but the truth is he says these attacks aren't authorised. That means he's lost control of Number 10, because that's where they're coming from. But the real scandal, Mr Speaker, the real scandal is that 2 weeks from a budget, the government has descended into civil war. Instead of fixing the mess they've made of the economy, they're all... Mr Speaker, they're all chuntering. These are the feral MPs that Number 10 has been talking about. They're not my words. They're Number 10's words, his words. But unbelievably, Mr Speaker, the Prime Minister's advisers have been reduced to briefing that MPs can't get rid of him, and I'm not making this up, they can't get rid of him because it would destabilise international markets. Why does the Prime Minister think that there would be a market meltdown if the Health Secretary took over?
Last week, the National Police Chiefs Council said that there was no doubt that the government's early release scheme was going to lead to an increase in crime. It followed the news. A man who'd been released from prison early has been charged with murder. So it's a simple question. Will the Justice Secretary rule out any more early release schemes for prisoners?
Can I just remind the right honourable gentleman that just before the general election in July, his government had 3 different versions of their early release scheme, and we inherited a situation, and he knows this, where prison capacity was completely unsustainable, and successive Justice Secretary under his previous government have said that in the last week. We brought forward our early release scheme. It was important to do that, to put capacity into the system, but it's the sentencing bill that will begin to deal with this issue in a comprehensive way.
Robert Jenrick.
Well, Mr Speaker, if you strip all that waffle back, he didn't deny it, did he? And that's interesting, because there's been another accidental release by the Ministry of Justice. And this time, it's an email sent in error by his officials to me. It shows his department are looking to accommodate criminals in the community instead of in prison. As you'd expect from him, they say their plans are, and I quote, a finger-in-the-air approach. They say they're considering spending up to 100 grand a year per person to live outside of prison. That's more than the cost of a prison cell. Can the Justice Secretary really say, with a straight face, that his latest scheme is a good use of taxpayers' money?
The right honourable gentleman knows that that email that was sent in error referred to women. And he knows that when you're talking about women, offenders, understandably, the system must consider the fact that many of them are mothers. Many of them have been the victims of men who have groomed them, who have pimped them, who have abused them. And that's why, understandably, public policy makers do look at alternative ways to deal with women in the community. None of us in this House should make any apologies for that.
Rupert Nile.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. Every week, we hear of a brutal murder, rape or stabbing, far too often perpetrated by someone who should not be in our country to begin with. Does the Prime Minister agree that for cases where the guilt is so undeniable, the crime so monstrous, the evil so irredeemable, the reintroduction of the death penalty for both foreign and domestic criminals should be put to the British people in a legally binding referendum?
Can I first say that any attack is to be condemned, and it is absolutely right, and we're determined that there is a criminal justice response in relation to attack, however it's carried out and whoever it's carried out by. But reintroducing the death penalty is not the answer to this. It didn't work when it was in place. It led to the death of those that, in fact, turned out were innocent. But what we must do is improve, as we are, the criminal justice response in this country.
The Theresa May model has not worked. The government announced in our English Devolution white paper that we will transfer policing functions to elected mayors in England by default, wherever geographies allow. 5 mayors now hold policing functions in Greater Manchester, Greater London and across Yorkshire. In these areas, we have seen the benefits of the mayoral model, including greater collaboration, visible leadership and local innovation. We are working closely with the Ministry of Housing, Communities and Local Government to create as many strategic authority mayors with policing functions as possible in this Parliament. However, due to the nature of how public services are organised across different areas, the process of establishing mayors across England is a complex one. I can therefore announce today that we will abolish police and crime commissioners at the end of their current term in 2028 and transfer functions to mayors wherever possible. In areas where plans do not yet allow for a transfer of policing to a mayor this Parliament, we will establish new policing and crime boards to bring council leaders together to oversee the police force in their area until such time as mayors are in place in England. These boards will replicate the benefits of a mayoralty before the formal transfer can be realised, with inbuilt local collaboration, public accountability and a greater ability to join up budgets and local services. They will comprise local authority upper-tier leaders, co-opted members with appropriate skills and experience, and mayors if they are in the force area. Preventing crime is everyone's business, and giving local leaders these responsibilities will help create thriving town centres, help businesses to succeed, and help people to walk without fear in their communities.
With some minor tinkering around the edges. Now, they say that they want to transfer PCC powers to mayors where they exist and where the territories are coterminous. Broadly speaking, that is the approach the previous government took. In fact, I recall transferring, I think it was one of the Yorkshire forces into the mayoral model around about a year or so ago. She does, however, assert that the mayoral model is superior to regular police and crime commissioners. I wonder what evidence she can produce to support that, because the biggest police and crime commissioner in the country, of course, is the Mayor of London, Sadiq Khan, who is also the worst PCC in the country, in my view. Knife crime up 86% under Sadiq Khan, the lowest clear-up rate of any force in the country, a lamentable 4.7%. He has closed down half the front counters in London, and police numbers are plummeting. So I wonder where she gets her assertion from. And then in terms of the areas that are outside mayoralties, she proposes essentially abolishing PCCs and replacing them with some kind of committee comprised of local councillors. Will those have the same powers as police and crime commissioners? Impliedly, they will. And if that is the case, it won't really save any money other than the election and the police and crime panel, which are very, very small costs. So as far as I can see, this won't really save any money, but what it will do is remove a directly elected public official, the Police and Crime Commissioner, who is accountable to the public and would certainly be more visible than some kind of faceless committee of local bureaucrats.
Through our landmark Children's Wellbeing Bill, we're requiring every local authority to help care leavers find secure accommodation. It saddens me that the parties opposite voted against it. The comments about children in care being evil are utterly appalling. And now the member for Clacton has heard them. I'm sure he'll want to condemn them right now.
Nigel Farage.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. No, I've only got 30 seconds. The Prime Minister has stated very clearly that he wants to close the migrant hotels by the end of this Parliament. Well, the reform-led West Northamptonshire Council, brilliantly led council, will be issuing foreclosure notices on 3 migrant hotels within the next few days in response to grave public concern about the safety of women and girls on the streets of West Northamptonshire. Would the Prime Minister approve of us speeding up the closure of the migrant hotels?
Yeah. Mr. Speaker, we will grip the mess we inherited and close every hotel. At their peak, under the previous government, there were 400 hotels. Now there are only 200 remaining. But he says he doesn't have time to condemn the comments calling children in care evil. He's also not had the time, it appears, to condemn the racist comments of his own MP. Utterly spineless.